Here at the Stardust Club in Artane, the work of sifting through the debris has been going on all day. The government inquiry into the fire will have to examine a number of important issues. Were all the emergency exits open at the time of the fire? Was the emergency lighting in case of blackout independent of the power system? These and other questions will have
I'll never forget the phone call that I got from my boss. I was living in Bray at the time, and he said, "Charlie, could you get your backside over to Artane in the north side of Dublin? There's after being a fire in a disco." I can remember crossing over the Liffey. I didn't exactly know where I was going, but I passed by the city morgue, and that image will never be taken out of my head. Already there were ambulances arriving there at that hour of the morning. It was freezing cold, and I can remember that the water from the fire hoses that the firemen had been using, it was all frozen. Everything was frozen, and the whole thing was like a dream.
The night started off great. We were having a good laugh and the music was brilliant and we were dancing, and I just seen smoke coming across the ceiling, and I said the DJ must have let off special effects. So when I looked over, there was only a small fire on the sea, but then within seconds then the whole thing came crashing down on top of us, and it was like being in hell. It was horrible. And as we tried to get out, there was a stampede then, and we were just trying to get out, and we were knocked onto the floor. 2.5 weeks in hospital, an intensive care and life support machine, and then a priest came in and told me that Mary Martina was dead. That's when I found out. Mary was absolutely beautiful. She was very, very intelligent. She done great in her leaving cert, and she was like a real bubbly person. Martina was like Marilyn Monroe. She was beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. She was a stunner. I don't think there was one fella from the area that didn't fancy her, but she was a lovely girl as well, right, real bubbly.
I think it's crucial that everybody in this country knows what happened on that night, but now we're piecing together because of the determination of the families. I mean, I talk real determination of the families who've been involved. I mean, and I feel so sorry for them that they've had to do so much to try and get to the truth. Hopefully, we're on the verge of getting to know what really happened on that night.
The Feast of St. Valentine, usually a time of flowers and wine and fine dining for lovers alike. But on an infamous Valentine's night on Dublin's north side, there was a devastating tragedy when 48 young people died after a fire started, leaving 48 families broken-hearted. Hundreds of broken hearts made in an instant. And we've all had our hearts broken, but there are special kinds of heartbreak. The heartbreak of loss, the heartbreak of having to bury a child, the heartbreak of having never known your parents, the heartbreak of never knowing how or why, and the devastation and destruction on that Valentine's night still resides in Dublin. The gravity of that tragedy shook people to their core. It made this country stand still. So now, 40 years on, we remember the 48. We always will. We will remember the loss, of course, but we will remember that they are not just a number. We will remember their lives. Lives that were lived. Lives that were real. Lives that could think and feel. Lives that were here. That existed in this world, in this universe. Lives that brought light and love and beauty to others. Mothers and fathers and cousins and sisters and brothers. We will remember them. And we will remember that day, Valentine's Day. We will honour it. Honour them. Remember their fight. We will remember and never forget the 48.
St. Valentine's Day comes around once a year. All our thoughts turn to love as the day it draws near. When sweethearts and darlings and husbands and wives pledge love and devotion for the rest of their lives.
Michael Barrett, Richard Bennett, Carl Bissett, James Buckley, Paula Byrne, Caroline Carey, John Colgan, Jacqueline Croker, Liam Dunn, Michael Farrell, David Flood, Thelma Fraser, Michael French, Josephine Glenn, Michael Griffiths, Robert Hilcock, Brian Hobbs, Eugene Hogan, Myrta Kavanagh, Martina Keegan, Mary Keegan, Robert Kelly, Mary Kennedy, Mary Kenny, Margaret Kiernan, Sandra Lawless, Frances Lawler, Maureen Lawler, Paula Lewis, Eamon Lockman, George McDermott, Marcella McDermott and William McDermott, Julie MacDonald, Teresa MacDonald, Gerard McGrath, Caroline McHugh, Donna Mahan, Helena Mangan, James Miller, Susan Morgan, David Morton, Kathleen Muldoon, George O'Connor, Brendan O'Mara, John Stout, Margaret Thornton and Paul Wade.
They could not hide the anger and sorrow of those trapped inside. Have we forgotten the suffering and pain, survivors and the victims of the fire in our day?
Mothers and fathers forever to mourn the 48 children who never came home. Throughout the city the bad news had spread. There's a fire in the Stardust with 48 dead. Hundreds of children are injured and maimed, and all just because the fire exits were chained. Our leaders were shocked, grim statements were made. They shed tears by the graves as the bodies were laid. The injured have waited in vain for 4 years. It seems like our leaders shed crocodile tears. Have we forgotten the suffering and pain, the survivors and the victims of the fire in Artane? The mothers and fathers forever to mourn the 48 children who never came home. 500,000 was paid in solicitors' fees, a fortune for the owner and his family. It's hard to believe that not one penny came to the working class people who suffered the pain. The days turn to weeks and the weeks turn to years. Our laws favour the rich, or so it appears. A mother still waits for her kids to come home. Injustice breeds anger, that's what's been done. Let us remember the suffering and pain, the survivors and the victims of the fire in Artane. The mothers and fathers forever to mourn the 48 children who never came home.
Remember Me by Bernadette Neviolan. Remember me as the seasons change. Years pass by, now 40 years since. Vivid memories forever engraved. Wishing to turn back time, have one more chance to hold me, to love me. You carry me with you every moment since, from dusk till dawn and then repeat. On and on each day endured, carrying the pain of a heavy heart, broken spirit. Yearning to be with me once more, for even a day I hear you plead. I'm with you, you know, though you can't see me, but in stillness I speak, you hear me, I know. I see your face, eyes sparkling with tears, sometimes shielded, but always there. Remember me, remember us, as the scales of justice sway to and fro. Let justice prevail and the truth be known. Remember me.
The park was here back in 1993. This part of the park was dedicated to the tragic lives that were lost in the Stardust. As you can see, the bronze statues here are in significance to the young dancers that were at the Stardust on the evening. 48 pillars and 48 jets on the fountain all represent each life that was lost. People in the area are very passionate about the park here. As you can see, it's so quiet and it's a lovely place to reflect, and it's just the wonderful work that has gone in by our Dublin City Council Parks Department has brought this into the fruition and where we're at right now.
There's 96 trees that we've planted around the fountain, so there'll be 48 for the victims and 48 for potential partners or partners lost. Yeah, I'm actually local myself. I'm only from Donamead originally, and one of my aunties lost a little sister in the fire, so you know it affects everyone in the area really. There's so many, so many kind of families have been affected, more than just the 48. It's an absolute honour to be given the responsibility to improve the park and to try and create a fitting tribute to the victims.
We have to think of everybody that has been solely affected by the Stardust. Even like people on the street, like that still has affected them. They can still remember where they were at the particular time when they heard the news. It's just something that's etched in everyone's memory that they'll never forget.